Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. And make sure you click that bell icon too so you get notified every time we release a new deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling something super important for getting a grasp on just how Indian society works. Social empowerment.
It's a topic that's relevant for everyone, really.
Totally. Whether you're gearing up for the UPSC, especially that GS1, or you're a student just diving into this stuff, or even if you're just someone who, wants to be in the know, this deep dive is for you. We're going deep into a document called Social Empowerment. Strategies for tribes, women, scheduled castes, minorities.
We'll break down all the important stuff, all the key insights, all that dense material.
Exactly. So the document starts off by defining what empowerment actually means, and they keep it pretty simple. Increasing the autonomy and self-determination of individuals and communities.
Yeah.
Basically, giving people the power to make their own choices, to shape their own lives.
Right. It's about recognizing that everybody deserves the opportunity to reach their full potential, no matter their background, no matter their social standing. The core idea is equality and autonomy. Everyone in society should have equal control over their lives and equal opportunities, right?
I love how the document gives some real-life examples to show what this actually looks like. Like, for someone from a lower caste, empowerment could mean finally being able to speak up in public, without fear, without facing prejudice.
Yeah, that's powerful. Or for a woman in a conservative household, empowerment might be something as simple as being allowed to leave the house alone, to go to school, to get a job.
Exactly. Or think about transgender individuals. For them, it could be getting a job that matches their gender identity.
Those examples really hit home that social empowerment is more than just an idea. It's real, it's personal, it has a real impact on people's lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Breaking down barriers so everyone feels valued and respected. And the document goes on to show just how big of an impact empowerment can have on society as a whole.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking less unemployment, less violence, more awareness of rights and duties, and even a reduction in corruption and poverty.
It's pretty incredible when you think about it. Empowering people leads to positive changes everywhere. People are more likely to demand fair treatment, to access things like education and healthcare, to pursue opportunities that lift them out of poverty.
Yeah, it's like this ripple effect, this chain reaction of positive change. And this document gets specific,
Yeah.
It zeroes in on groups that face unique challenges when it comes to empowerment. Scheduled tribes, women, scheduled castes, minorities, rural populations, senior citizens, persons with disabilities.
It's a lot to unpack, for sure.
It is. But for today's deep dive, we're going to really focus on scheduled tribes, especially for all those UPSC aspirants out there. This is key stuff for the GS1 syllabus.
Understanding the challenges and opportunities they face is super important for anyone who wants to understand social empowerment in India, really.
All right, so let's dive into their world. Did you know that there are like 705 distinct tribal groups in India?
Wow.
Yeah, making up about 8.6% of the total population. And get this, 2/3 of all scheduled tribes live in just 7 states.
That's a pretty big concentration. It highlights how diverse tribal populations are, in different parts of the country.
Right, and within all that diversity, there's a group that's especially vulnerable, PVTGs. Particularly vulnerable tribal groups.
These are the groups that are facing even bigger challenges because they're often isolated, they rely on pre-agricultural technologies, and their populations are declining.
Like the Sahara people, one of the largest PVTG groups in India. Think about living in remote areas, relying on traditional hunting and gathering, and trying to adapt to a world that's changing so fast.
Yeah, their situation is a reminder that we need to have targeted interventions that respect their culture and traditions while also giving them what they need to thrive.
It's like walking a tightrope, isn't it? Preserving their identity, but also making sure they have the same opportunities as everyone else.
Absolutely.
And speaking of challenges, the document lays out a pretty tough reality for tribes across India. It talks about problems with access to forests and land, high poverty rates, exploitation, low literacy rates, inadequate health care, and the constant battle to hold on to their culture in a world that's changing so rapidly.
It's a lot to grapple with. These challenges are all connected, and they're rooted in historical injustices and inequalities that have pushed tribal communities to the margins for generations.
It's like this tangled web of issues. Like, for instance, when you restrict access to forests, it can be devastating.
Yeah, so many tribes depend on forests for food, for medicine, for materials they use in their traditional crafts.
It's not just about money. It's about their identity, their connection to the land, their whole way of life.
And it's even harder to address these problems because for many PVTGs, we don't even have basic information, like baseline surveys on population, health, education, economic conditions.
We're missing pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Makes it tough to design effective programs.
Absolutely.
But hey, there's always hope, right? The document does point to some government initiatives, programs that are trying to empower tribal communities and make their lives better.
Yeah, these are important steps. Steps towards righting past wrongs, addressing the disadvantages that tribes have faced for so long.
Let's look at a couple of examples. First, there's the Van Dan Vikas Karyakram. This one is all about supporting tribal gatherers, those who collect forest products.
It's a smart initiative because it builds on their traditional knowledge and skills, gives them what they need to succeed.
Yeah, it helps them form self-help groups, gives them working capital for equipment and stuff, and even offers skills training so they can add value to what they collect.
Yeah.
The goal is to help them become entrepreneurs within their own communities.
It's a great example of how the government can use traditional knowledge and resources to create sustainable opportunities.
Then there's the Stand Up India scheme. This one focuses on promoting entrepreneurship among scheduled tribes, scheduled castes, and women. It provides loans and support so they can start their own businesses.
It's all about ownership, helping them break out of poverty and build a better future for themselves, for their families.
Okay, so we have these great programs, but there's a catch, right? The document points out some limitations, things that make these programs less effective.
Like access to information.
Right. A lot of people, especially in remote areas, don't even know about these programs.
It's like having a treasure chest but no map to find it.
Exactly. And then there's bureaucracy.
Yeah.
The application process can be so complicated and time-consuming.
Yeah, it can discourage people from even trying.
Super frustrating. Even with the best intentions, red tape can get in the way. So what do we do? Where do we go from here? Well, the document ends this section with some smart recommendations for sustainable development for tribes.
Yeah, and these go beyond specific programs. They're more about the principles that should guide how we approach tribal empowerment.
Right, making sure development is inclusive, respecting their cultures and traditions. So one key recommendation is having region-specific approaches.
Right, tailoring the solutions to the specific needs and resources of each region, instead of a one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly. Like in island regions, maybe developing fisheries or ecotourism could work well.
Provides opportunities while respecting their connection to the land and sea.
The document also stresses awareness. People need to know about these programs, and the application process needs to be easier. Plus, tribal communities need to have a say in the policies that affect them.
Empowerment isn't about handouts, it's about giving them the power to choose their own path.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And we're back, diving deeper into social empowerment in India, part 2.
This time we're zooming in on women. Their journey towards, well, equality, towards having a real voice.
A crucial piece of the puzzle when we're talking about Indian society, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No matter who you are, studying for those UPSC exams, learning about this in class, or just being a good citizen. And the document we're looking at, it gets real, doesn't it? No sugarcoating the challenges women in India still face, even today.
No, not at all. We're talking domestic violence, dowry deaths, not enough access to education or health care, and that persistent gender gap in jobs and politics. It's still there.
It's a reminder that even though we've come a long way, there's still work to do. A long way to go for real equality between men and women.
You know, one thing that stood out to me was the limited choices women have, especially when it comes to work.
Oh, yeah.
The document points out how women are often pushed into those pink-collar jobs, you know, those traditional roles, while they face all these barriers in other fields.
Like an invisible wall,
Oh,
boxing them in,
yeah.
limiting their dreams and early marriage.
It's a huge problem, right?
Yeah.
Like the document says, it often stops their education, forces them into these domestic roles, limits their choices, limits their potential. It's a cycle that's hard to break, perpetuating inequality, denying them the chance to really shine.
But there's hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
Amidst all of this, the document talks about some recent legal changes. Things to celebrate.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like the Domestic Violence Act. Remember we talked about that earlier? There have been some big changes.
Oh, right. What were they again?
Well, the Supreme Court got rid of that phrase, adult male.
Okay.
So now a woman can actually file a complaint against another woman for domestic violence.
Interesting. So it recognizes that abuse can happen in same-sex relationships.
Exactly. And the whole definition of domestic violence has been expanded. It's not just physical abuse. It includes emotional abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, even economic abuse.
Right. Recognizing that violence isn't always, punches and bruises. It can be so much more subtle.
Absolutely. And the act now also includes live-in partners. So women who might not be legally married but are in committed relationships still have that protection.
Makes sense. Relationships are changing. The law needs to keep up. It's good to see these changes happening. But laws are just words on paper, aren't they? They need to be enforced, actually put into practice.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Talk about something that's becoming a bigger problem every day. Cybercrimes against women.
Oh, yeah. Technology can be amazing, but it also creates new ways to hurt people.
Right. And the document gets into some disturbing stuff. Harassment through emails, cyberstalking, spreading really obscene content, even email spoofing, where they trick women into giving away personal information or pictures that can then be used for blackmail.
It's scary. These are serious crimes, and they can have a devastating impact on a woman's life, her reputation, her sense of safety.
And what's even worse is that a lot of women don't report these crimes because they're afraid of being judged or shamed. We need to create a space where women feel safe speaking out without fear.
Totally agree. Raising awareness is huge, and so is making the laws stronger, giving law enforcement the tools they need to investigate these crimes and support the victims.
It's on all of us, really, to make the online world a safer place, especially for women, who are often the targets.
Couldn't agree more.
But, okay, enough of the doom and gloom. Let's talk about some of the good stuff, because despite all these challenges, there are incredible initiatives out there to empower women in India, programs that are actually working, making a difference.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The document highlights a bunch of government schemes and programs that are making a real impact on women's lives.
Addressing so many areas: education, healthcare, economic opportunities, legal protection, a whole support system.
Right.
So let's get into some specifics. One that really impressed me was the Savita program, all about menstrual hygiene.
That one's fantastic.
Tell me about it.
Okay, so the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, they launched Savita. It provides 100% oxo-biodegradable sanitary napkins, super affordable prices,
Yeah.
through the Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Janaushadhi Pariyana.
Wow, so they're making these essential products available to everyone.
Exactly.
Because, let's be real, having access to affordable sanitary products can change everything. A girl staying in school, a woman being able to fully participate in society.
It's about dignity, equality, basic human rights, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's Project Stree Swabaman, run by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology.
This one focuses on women in rural areas, providing them with those affordable sanitary products, promoting menstrual hygiene, and breaking down the taboos and the stigma.
We need to change the conversation around periods.
Yeah,
Make it normal. Make it okay to talk about.
definitely.
And let's not forget about the Nari portal. This one's like a one-stop shop for all things related to women's empowerment.
It's amazing. Information, resources, all right there. Women's rights, government schemes, legal aid, support services. It's all there.
It's so smart, using technology to connect women with the help they need.
Totally. And for those who want to, directly engage with the Ministry of Women and Child Development, there's the eSambad portal.
Okay, what's that one all about?
So NGOs and civil society organizations, they can use it to provide feedback, share what's working, and be part of policy discussions.
That's awesome, bringing everyone to the table, making sure the voices of women are heard.
Exactly. But we can't talk about women's empowerment without talking about safety.
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah.
The document acknowledges that women in India face risks everywhere, at home, at work, in public spaces.
It's a scary reality.
Eh.
It's 2024, and women still don't feel safe.
Yeah. And the document specifically calls out sexual harassment as a huge barrier, something that keeps women from being truly free, from participating fully in society.
Because it's not just about being physically safe, is it? It's about feeling safe, respected, valued, everywhere you go.
Exactly. And thankfully, there have been some legal changes, like the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act from 2013.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
That one was a game changer when it comes to protecting women from harassment at work. And they're pretty broad about what workplace means. Offices, factories, schools, hospitals, it's all covered.
So no matter where a woman works, she has the right to a safe and respectful environment.
Exactly. And the Act says every organization with 10 or more employees has to have an internal complaints committee, a way for women to report harassment confidentially.
Good in theory, but again, it comes down to implementation, doesn't it?
For sure.
The document says a lot of women still don't feel comfortable reporting harassment. They're afraid of what will happen. They worry about the stigma.
And there are even some companies that just haven't set up those committees, even though they're legally required to.
It's like they're not taking it seriously.
Yeah. We need awareness. We need to make sure everyone understands this is a real issue and that there are consequences for breaking the law.
It's about changing mindsets, challenging the way things have always been done, making sure respect and equality are more than just words.
Absolutely. But it's not all on individual companies. The government's also doing a lot to improve women's safety.
Yeah. What else are they doing?
Well, there's the National Commission for Women, the NCW. They've been fighting for women's rights since 1992.
I've heard of them. What exactly do they do?
They review laws, make recommendations to the government, help women who have complaints, and give advice on policies related to women. Basically, they're a watchdog, making sure the government keeps its promises.
That's awesome. A powerful voice for women, holding those in power accountable.
Exactly. And there's also a 24-hour helpline for women, the Scheme for Universalization of Women Helpline. It's there for emergencies and non-emergencies. If a woman is experiencing violence or any kind of threat, she can call.
Yeah, it will help.
Yep. They can connect her with support services, legal aid, counseling, even shelter homes, whatever she needs.
So no matter what, she's not alone.
Right. And to tackle those cybercrimes we talked about, the government's been training police and judges on cyber laws.
Oh, that's good to hear.
So they have the skills to investigate these crimes properly and help the victims. It's about making sure the legal system is keeping up with technology, making sure those who commit these crimes online are held accountable.
Because online or offline, women deserve protection.
For sure. And then there's the big one, the National Mission for Empowerment of Women, or NMUW. This is like the government's flagship program.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it aims to empower women in every aspect of their lives. Education, skills, health, economic opportunities.
The whole package deal.
Exactly. And it focuses on promoting women's leadership, giving them more decision-making power, making sure they have a say in everything that affects their lives.
That's amazing. Women shaping their own destinies,
Yeah.
contributing to the progress of the nation. And what about healthcare?
Well, programs like the National Rural Health Mission and the Family Welfare Program have been crucial for women's maternal health.
Right, especially in rural areas where access is often limited.
Exactly. They focus on making healthcare affordable and accessible. And there are specific schemes like the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana, which provides maternity benefits to pregnant women and new mothers.
Oh, so they get financial support during pregnancy and after childbirth.
Exactly. Making sure they have the nutrition they need, taking care of their health, which ultimately takes care of the whole family.
Right.
And to tackle anemia, which is a huge problem among young people, they have the weekly iron and folic acid supplementation program.
Making sure those kids grow up strong and healthy.
Exactly.
It's good to hear about all these initiatives. It sounds like a lot is being done.
Yeah, it is. But the fight for gender equality isn't over. It's a constant effort. We need everyone to be involved.
Individuals, communities, institutions,
Yeah.
all working together.
Exactly. But there's reason to be hopeful. Women are resilient. They're breaking down those barriers, creating a more just and fair society for themselves and for the generations to come.
All right, welcome back to our final part of this deep dive on social empowerment in India. We've covered a lot of ground already, but we've got one more crucial group to talk about: the scheduled castes.
A community with a long history of facing some serious challenges.
Absolutely. And the document we're looking at, it dives right into that history. Doesn't shy away from the injustices they've faced, often called Dalits, right?
Right. And it acknowledges that even with laws guaranteeing equality and banning untouchability, discrimination and marginalization are still a reality for them.
It's tough to hear that even today, some people in this community struggle to access even basic things, like clean water or public transport.
And it goes even deeper than that. The document talks about forced labor, manual scavenging.
Ugh, those practices are just
Exploitative.
degrading.
Yeah.
A violation of basic human dignity. It's clear that laws alone aren't enough.
Nope. We need a change in how people think, a real commitment to making sure everyone's rights are respected.
Totally. And the document also points to the denial of education as a major roadblock.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle. No education limited opportunities, stuck in poverty, more vulnerable to exploitation.
Breaking that cycle has got to be a top priority because education, it's empowering. It opens doors. It lets people claim their rightful place in society.
Mm.
But even with all these challenges, there are some bright spots. The document highlights some really promising government initiatives, programs that are making a difference for scheduled castes.
Definitely. A lot of these initiatives focus on education, on creating economic opportunities, on providing social protection. It's a multi-pronged approach, trying to tackle the problem from different angles.
Okay, tell me about some of these programs.
Well, there's the National Scheduled Castes Finance and Development Corporation, the NSFDC.
What do they do?
They provide financial help to scheduled caste individuals and families living below the poverty line, helping them start businesses, become self-sufficient.
Giving them the tools to create their own success.
Exactly. And then there's the National Safai Karamchari Finance and Development Corporation, the NSKFDC. This one's specifically for Safai Karamcharis, manual scavengers, and their families.
Trying to help them get out of those dangerous and demeaning jobs.
Exactly. They offer skills training, help them find other ways to make a living.
Give them a chance at a better life. A life with dignity and respect.
Absolutely. And there's also a venture capital fund for scheduled castes to encourage entrepreneurship.
Oh, interesting. How does that work?
It gives financial support to scheduled caste entrepreneurs who have innovative ideas, new business ventures, helps them get those ideas off the ground.
That's fantastic. Supporting innovation, creating opportunities for them to become business leaders.
Right. And remember the Stand Up India scheme we talked about earlier? That one benefits scheduled castes too, along with scheduled tribes and women. It's all about promoting entrepreneurship, giving people the chance to be their own boss.
So many great programs. And it's not just about economic empowerment, is it?
No, not at all. The government's also put in place legal protections and social safety nets.
Tell me more about those.
Well, there's a Protection of Civil Rights Act from way back in 1955. It was a big deal because it outlawed untouchability, made it a crime.
A huge step towards dismantling the caste system, making it clear that everyone is equal.
And then there's the Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act from 1989. This one aims to stop violence and discrimination against these communities and make sure that anyone who commits these crimes faces serious consequences.
These laws are so important, but we know that just having them on paper isn't enough.
Definitely not. The document stresses that people need to know about these laws. Law enforcement needs to be trained to handle these cases properly, and victims need to be able to get justice quickly and fairly. It's about making sure these laws have real teeth.
Absolutely. Protecting the rights and the dignity of scheduled castes. Now, before we wrap up this whole deep dive, the document also touches on the empowerment of religious and linguistic minorities in India, which makes sense.
India's strength is in its diversity. Protecting the rights of minorities is essential for keeping our society harmonious and inclusive.
Exactly. But the document also points out that even with constitutional protections in place, minorities can face obstacles when it comes to education, jobs, and being included in society.
It's a complex issue, for sure. Even defining the term minority is up for debate, which makes it tricky to address the specific needs of different groups.
But even with those challenges, it's important to remember that there are constitutional safeguards in place.
Right. Like Article 29, which says that citizens with different languages, scripts, or cultures have the right to preserve them, and Article 30, which guarantees minorities the right to set up and run their own educational institutions.
So basically, minorities have the right to hold on to their identities, to fully participate in the social and cultural fabric of the country.
Exactly. But the document also points out some of the specific issues that minorities face, like communal tensions, feeling unsafe, not being represented enough in government or politics, and even those separatist movements in some areas. These are tough issues.
Yeah, they require careful thought, dialogue, a genuine effort to build bridges between communities.
Absolutely. The document specifically mentions Muslims in India. They're the largest minority group, and they tend to have lower rates of participation in higher education. And they're underrepresented in the workforce, especially in those higher-paying professional jobs.
We need to address those disparities, focus on education, skills training, making sure everyone has equal opportunities. But there's some positive things happening too, right? Initiatives designed to empower minorities.
Definitely. There's the Prime Minister's new 15-point program. It's a whole package of initiatives covering things like education, skill development, and protecting minority cultures. Lots of different ministries are involved.
Like a team effort.
Yeah, and one of the schemes under this program is called Ustad.
Okay, what does USTED do?
It focuses on training artisans from minority communities, helping them upgrade their skills, keeping those traditional arts and crafts alive, and helping them earn a living from their work. And then there's Hamari Dharohar. That one's all about preserving the rich heritage of minority communities in India, celebrating their contributions to our country's culture.
That's beautiful. And what about women from minority communities? Are there programs specifically for them?
Definitely. There's Nairashni, a program that focuses on leadership development for women from minority communities. It encourages them to step up, take on leadership roles, and advocate for their rights, making sure their voices are heard.
It sounds like a lot is being done. But there's always more to do, right? Social empowerment isn't a destination. It's an ongoing process.
Absolutely. It requires constant intention. We need to be willing to challenge the status quo and work towards a society where everyone has a chance to succeed.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into social empowerment in India. We've covered a lot: the challenges, the triumphs, the ongoing efforts to create a more just and equal society for everyone.
We explored the unique situations of scheduled tribes, women, scheduled castes, and minorities. We talked about history, the current realities, and the steps being taken to make things better.
It's been a fascinating journey. Hopefully you'll learn something new along the way. Maybe you're even inspired to learn more, to get involved. Because social empowerment is not just an abstract idea. It's about real people, real lives. It's about all of us working together to create a better world.